Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Marriage Culture TV, where marriage and culture intersect. I'm Queen Athleen.
And this is the Nikki O. Welcome again. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Every week, it's a different title that goes in front of her, Nikki O. Have you guys noticed that? Please take note. Keep track. Anyway, in today's episode of Marriage Culture TV, we want to talk about, or we're going to talk about, delayed marriages. And delayed marriages is subjective, really. What you consider delayed may not be delayed for one other person, but whatever you consider delayed. So delayed marriages, or taking a long time to get married beyond your desired age or timeline that you had set for your life. How some cultures deal with that, and what you can do to cope or to deal with that process. So, Nikki O, the Nikki O, let's start from the top. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think I could. I think for me, one of the things that stood out when I was just reading, and the Good Book, of course, and the one that jumped out for me, or the thing that jumped out for me, was Abraham, and when he told his servant that he needed to find a spouse for his son Isaac. Mm-hmm. And judging from what we were seeing, it seemed like, Isaac had been of marital age and was supposed to be married, but he wasn't. And so his father said, hey, I'm old. I know my time is far spent, and I need you to find a wife for my son. And he just gave him some directions, and there were some things that he shouldn't do, some people that he couldn't choose. And I thought that was very, very interesting. But like you rightly said, with delayed marriage, it's all a perception being in the culture that you are. Let me see if I can reword that. So it depends on the culture that you are. So you being saying maybe having a delayed marriage in the United States of America could be different for India, could be different for the continent of Africa, and then, each country has their own perception of what it is. So here, I think in the United States, the polls have shown that people are getting married much older than, the generations before us. And it's something of a choice. It's more of a choice thing, while in other cultures it's not. But regardless of that, there are delayed marriages. So I know Athleen had some good pointers about dealing with the cultural pressure when it comes to delayed marriage. And so she just wanted to share from her perspective.
From my perspective, so I just want to talk a little bit about some of the cultural pressures. In some cultures, people can be downright cruel to especially young ladies, and yes, to the men too, but mostly young ladies, I think, get it more. In some cultures, the expectation is once you're done with college, the next thing is boom, you need to be married, and 6 months later, baby. So that is like the timeline that they have cut out for them. Specifically, I can say in some African cultures, I remember one of my friends told me, and she was from Nigeria, she's like, she wasn't allowed to have boyfriends. Her parents were so strict, no boyfriend, definitely not during high school. And then, when she would come home from college, like for a break, her parents would say, hey, I hope you're not dating anybody. And she was like, no, mom, of course not. And then she was done with school. She graduated, and they're like, okay, so where's the husband? She's like, how am I supposed to have a husband if I wasn't allowed to date, all along? So some of the cultural pressures would be like, they will pressure the young lady, like, time is gone, clock is ticking, come on, let's go. Meanwhile, that young lady or young man may want to pursue their career, may want to be stabilized or set in their career to, attain certain things for themselves. They want to travel, they want to, get some life experiences before they tie the knot. And maybe their timeline would be the age of 35 before they get married. And here they are being pressured at 24, 25, like, look, you gotta get married. I remember specifically, I think I was like in my mid-20s, and I wasn't ready for marriage at that time. To be honest, I wasn't. But then I was in an environment where it was like, you're an outcast. What? You are 25 and you're not married? Like, what's going on here? You know, and so the pressure was on. It was a little bit sad dealing with that, but I learned how to eventually cope with it. I lived my life. And the next segment actually is what we're going to talk about, is how to deal with it, how to deal with, you know, when maybe people are putting in one category, not treating you well, or how to deal with you not being married at the time that you set for yourself. Some women are and men are very strategic. By the age of 35 or by the age of 40, I want to be married. How do you deal with that if that doesn't happen at the timeline you have set for yourself? As speaking from a Christian perspective, you know, we do hand over to God, like, God, these are my desires, you know, let your will be done. So I have some pointers and I can go ahead, but I feel like I've been talking a lot.
Oh
so
no,
Nikki,
I'm enjoying this. This is so cool. For once, you know, I can sit back, relax and enjoy.
So some of the pointers actually to deal with, okay, you're waiting for your spouse and it doesn't happen. Live your life. Do not stop living. If you love to travel, travel. I remember I traveled a lot. I would go to conferences. I would go to a different country with my girlfriends. I would, you know, I was always jet setting. I had so many frequent flyer miles. It was amazing. And I enjoyed life to the fullest. So I was enjoying myself so much that I wasn't sitting down. Yes, I wanted to be married by the time I set for myself, and it didn't happen. But I wasn't at home moping. I wasn't crying, and I wasn't going to think that somebody's going to come knock on my door. Hey, let me propose to you. Although I've heard it happen where, you know, people's spouses came knocking in their door for one thing and they end up, you know, saying I do's. But I live my life, and that would be one of my first tip, is to live your life. If you love to travel, travel. If you love to paint, take a painting. If you love a music lesson, do it. You know, and Nikki and I were talking, and I don't want to jump into her point of view, but basically live your life. Nikki?
Oh, okay. I like that one, living your life. Because a lot of times people seem to feel that they have to come to a standstill, you know. Okay, so I've done this, I've done the education, I'm making the money, I've reached the age, what now? And then they just stop living. So I like that point, you know, continue living your life, continue being who you are. You never know. Another a pointer for me was, and this is basically for me, because I'm an introvert, even though Athlete might think something else, but I love being by myself, not lonely, just, you know, I like that. So I mean, if you are thinking or you're desiring marriage, sitting at home and listening to music, watching a movie, crocheting, whatever it is in the house is not going to make your spouse find you. You have to get out. You have to, like Anthony was saying, live, you know, go out with friends. If you want to I was saying to her, if you want to get married to a basketball player, don't go to a cricket match and think the basketball player is going to show up. Go to places that you think you and your spouse would be able to find each other and you could meet him. You know, so I think that's just some of the things, you know, if you want, you know, someone who's a Pentecostal, go to a Pentecostal church. Hey, maybe he's there waiting. If you know, it just depends. Just go out and not try to be at home. You have to mingle. You have to be around other people, like-minded people, people that are looking to get married just like you, and just try and be in those environments. Kathleen?
Yes, and in the same vein, as you're doing these things that Nikki also suggested, I would say lighten up as well. Don't think, okay, I'm going to go to this basketball game tonight and I'm going to meet the one. Go there to have fun and be in the moment and have fun at whatever
Definitely.
it is you're doing. You know, if you are into, like, say, cooking and you go take a cooking class, you know, have fun at it. I remember too, you know, while you're single, and sometimes you may go on a blind date. Somebody may set you up, or the computer and the World Wide Web is the thing now on social media. People are meeting each other on dating apps, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have numerous friends who met their spouses and are happily married many years later with children that met each other online. But the thing is, you don't go in thinking, okay, I'm going on this date and this is the one, this is going to be the one. You're going to put too much pressure on yourself. You won't be relaxed. The guy or female will pick that up like, oh, he or she is thirsty. Go there to meet someone, check out who they are. Take your heart out of it for the moment, you know. Use your head. Oh dear. Use your head and saying, you know, you want to learn this person's character. You want to get to know this person as a friend, going lightly and see where things, you know, go from there. It may be that it ends up being nothing. You know, this just may be just a date and that's it. Or it may be a friend that you have for long life and that's it. Or that friendship may turn into courtship and then marriage. But live your life, have fun, lighten up. And I would want to add also, as a Christian, pray. Pray for your spouse, the kind of character you want in your spouse, the kind of things that you want you and your spouse to have together, and work on yourself. Don't just say, I have my 100-point list and you're only a number, you're only 5. Like, you know, make sure your list is reasonable, you know, and pray for somebody that has a heart after God if you're a Christian, because that matters. Pray for the kind of relationship you want to have with your in-laws. Pray for them, pray about that relationship. And then pray for your children that you want to have and the kind of home that you want to have. Prayer cannot be overstated enough while single.
Yeah, and one of the things that I wanted to add is just being able to move past the past, you know, forget the past. Let me put it that way. Some of us, you know, a lot of people, if you've been living, you know, you've had discouragements, you know, some people have ended up with broken hearts, you know, relationships haven't panned out the way they thought it would, you know, and so you get caught up in that moment, in that, you know, relationship, and it can turn out to be a blockage, you know, in regards to you moving on to a new relationship, you know, and you have to move past it and not measure anybody else based on what you've been through. Is it easy? Of course it's not easy. We're all human beings, you know, but we can't forget that this marriage thing that we all talk about and that, you know, a lot of people desire, is that it was ordained by God himself. So if it was designed for him, all the plans and all the purposes that he has for you in that way, like Athleen said, you just have to keep on praying, you know, and just make sure that every single thing that you're looking in regards for marriages, it doesn't necessarily contradict what God had planned for marriages in itself, you know, but just move on, you know. So you were talking to Mr. A and it didn't work out, move past that, forget him, move on to Mr. B. And if, you know, and we're talking about relationships here, or dating, you know, and that's just what it is from a Christian perspective. So you were talking to Miss C, and Miss C said, you know what, I don't like you, you're too tall, or, you know, maybe you have too much money and I just want somebody who, you know, can live in this range, and this is what I'm looking for, and I'm not stepping outside my box. You know, move on, because there's a Miss B and there's a Miss D, you know, that could fit you. So you just want to move on past that discouragement, past that hurt, and look forward to the next chapter and the next phase that God has for you in marriage.
Amen. And I want to make one last comment. I'll make one last statement. Regardless of who you are, male or female, never let anyone make you feel that you are not enough because you're single. Never let anyone make you feel like you're inadequate, that you are an outcast. Never let them push you aside and make you feel discarded. Don't give anyone that permission. You are a jewel. You are a child of God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you are all that in a bag of chips. You have a lot that you bring to the table. Know who you are, whose you are, and what you are capable of doing, and value yourself, so that when you meet your spouse, they too will see that value in you and be like, oh my God, I am the luckiest man or woman alive. Value yourself and let no one devalue you, because you are God's own and you have his stamp of approval and fingerprint on you. And that's all I have.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I mean, I didn't even think about this, but the very key point that Athleen just spoke about, staying away from negative influences. Because when you're in that dating mode and you're looking for a partner, I mean, you're going to get comments, you're going to get people that are in your life. It could be family, friends, acquaintances that might just throw negative comments and their own negative opinions on you. You have to learn to stay away from that. You know, even if someone says something, don't have to get angry or whatever. It might hurt a little bit, but you have to learn to guard yourself, guard your heart, so that you can deal with it and move on and wait for God's perfect timing. And I also wanted to touch on your self-worth. Like Athleen said, don't forget who you are. And you know why you were created. Like she said, you know, you are God's image. You were created in God's image. You know, sometimes we have inferiority complexes, and because of that, when we are in a relationship with someone, we might not be able to fully enjoy that person. And that could be your Mr. Right or your Miss Right. But because of other things that you're dealing with and you're not able to accept who you are, understanding that you are definitely a child of God, you might miss out on that marital relationship that you were waiting on, you know?
Yes.
So you just want to make sure that you know you are worth fighting for. You are worth the wait. You are definitely worth it. And like Anthony said, you have so much to bring to the table.
Yes.
You know, don't ever forget that, no matter what's going on. And if the person you're talking to cannot come to terms with that, or doesn't feel that way, or makes you feel in any way, you know, that you are not, then maybe it's just not the right person. You should feel loved at all times. You should feel wanted at all times, even before, you know, you get the question, will you marry me? You know, or before you say to her, you know, whichever way it's coming from, you know, no male has a right to put a female down, and no female has a right to put a male down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You should both enjoy each other and know that you're both worth a lot. And I don't think we have anything else to say. I mean, if we do, you can always catch us on our Facebook page. We put our little comments there, and I'm sure we'll have some more things to put on this one, because we're going to be getting so much feedback from everyone. This is Marriage Culture TV. If you have not subscribed, please do so right now. If you haven't shared, I'm sure you have a friend out there, or a friend of a friend who's not married, and this is some really good advice for them. You want to put it out there. You can see us on Instagram, on Twitter. We're here. Athleen, I'm going to let you close out.
And thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that you got some good pointers today. We hope that you watch this video to the end and you feel encouraged and you feel loved and you value yourself. If you weren't before, or, you know, would add some more value to yourself. So again, like Nikki said, follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Instagram at Marriage Culture TV. We're on Facebook. We have a private group and a public page. Find us